Good morning, it's May 19th. Quite a bit cooler today. We had rain last night, so everything suddenly looks greener. There's more rain coming, so we really needed that. It's cool enough I actually put on a light sweater this morning and went back to long pants. Not that you would have known I was wearing shorts, but I was. So my plan is to walk south, but first I got to get across the creek, as usual. Well, then I'll walk north again to get home, but I'll start by going south. Woke up a bit early today. I get up at 6:30, but I woke up before that and didn't go back to sleep because I was thinking about the tangled stars. The scene I wrote yesterday needs some work, and I think I know how to change it. So it kept me awake. Right, that's, they were digging up the sidewalk there yesterday. I guess they fixed whatever it was. I'll probably wish I'd stayed with shirt sleeves after I walked a bit, but it seemed cool when I first stepped out. Actually, I would have been fine with shorts too, probably. It's about 10:09. I'm only going to 19 today after being 31 or something yesterday. So I think what I figured out with the tangled stars this morning will help me move ahead. It's still been much more of a struggle than my writing normally is. I'm not sure why. Partly it's the change in routine, not being able to go out and write outside of my house, because I write better somewhere else than I actually do at home, which is kind of weird, but that's the way it is. So if you are watching live on YouTube or have found me on Facebook or vice versa, say hi and I'll say hi back. Had a few people yesterday. Of course, the first part of this is to get to the footbridge. You always have to get across the creek before you can do anything to the south. There's only a couple of ways across. You can't smell it, of course, but we've got that lovely, it rained last night smell going on this morning, which makes it very pleasant. Nice cool temperature. Trees are in flower. The ones that flower. Actually, we'll go down and get on the dike here just so we can go by that pretty tree at the end there. My first internet stability warning. This is quite a spectacular tree, however this worked out. They planted it right in the middle of this little roundabout, and it's a flowering tree, so it has a really great setting. And this is when it looks its best. And there's stairs on the other side up under the deck, so we'll take those. The dike, not the deck. Thinking of decks because we're building a deck later this summer. Got our plans finalized. Now we get to do the fun stuff like select materials and pay. do anything as long as you got money. There you go. Lovely spring tree. Yep, already wishing I had worn a sweater. Oh well, I think I live and learn. I thought we might get a good view of the tree from here, but it's a bit... There we go. Very pretty tree. Much greener now along here. You can't see the creek through the bare branches on my left anymore. I think I have something in one shoe, but hopefully I can live with it because it's a pain to try to do anything about that, especially while I'm carrying this. That was a nice breeze. Morning. How are you? Our old friend, the footbridge. Our old friend, Scanna Creek in the sunlight. Okay, let me see. What am I going to do here? Go down. Go over on the other side of Albert, walk down. You start over there. I don't have a very precise plan, just somewhere to the south. It's always nice to walk along this stretch of the path too. Green is particularly fetching with the sun shining behind it as you walk this direction. Particularly springy. If anybody's there watching this, this is what it looks like right now. If you're watching the recording later, this is what it looked like this morning. It all seems more secretive once the leaves come out because it becomes this kind of green tunnel. Whereas before, when I walked this way without leaves, it was felt much more open. You still see the creek over there to the left a little bit, to the trees, the bushes anyway. See from the water in the alley there that we did indeed get rain last night. There's no reason I should get unstable internet along here, but I have been for the last little while. Never in the winter, but since it warmed up. So I don't know if it has something to do with the humidity or something. I don't know. It's weird. I'm going to take the winding path here to the right, since that's the way I'm actually headed. Used to be a fountain here, right there. Long gone, or at least a pool. I think it was a fountain. Either go up to the alley, I'll just stretch it out and go back this way. It's not like I'm trying to walk the shortest distance between 2 points. Haven't had any greetings this morning from anybody, but I'm here. If you're there, let me know on YouTube or Facebook. There's the creek again. Small child on a scooter. Her parents are behind me somewhere. The Albert Street Bridge from this side. Baby geese. Over here. Oops. Now I have to make a decision what I want to do. And I think what I'll do is go over across the street, walk down that side, which I've done before, but maybe take a turn a little ways down that I haven't done before. Do things in a different direction. You know, for the people who watch every one of these start to finish, of which there is no one. But I know when I'm repeating myself too much, too close together. So I got the walk light here, which is nice. And we will cross here. There's the lake, which I'll walk around on Friday again. Very blue looking today from here. light, especially this time of day. Again, Albert is the main drag north-south through the city, so it kind of takes priority at the lights, especially at commuting time, which it is right now, or a little bit after anyway. Oh, warm standing here in the sun. I should not have worn the sweater, even this light one. There we go. All right, we'll get away from Albert here. Go down here. The bathrooms, not showing you those. Oh, I wish I could take this sweater off actually, but that would be very awkward to do while holding onto this, like possibly impossible. So I guess I'll just suffer. Of course, that's the ledge kind of peeking through the trees there, the Saskatchewan Legislative Building. Walk down this side. He's on the sidewalk there for some reason. So we'll take a peek at the War Memorial here, which I've only really shown in detail once on one of these walks. Unstable internet connection through there. Hopefully I'm back. If anybody's watching, let me know. I haven't had a note from anyone else, so as far as I know, I'm all alone on this walk. I had several people yesterday. I don't know. It's all random, of course. Depends on what other people are doing. We'll take a look at the War Memorial here. This is the provincial one. The city has a cenotaph, like most towns do, which was put up after the First World War, and then other wars added to it. But this is the provincial one. So you've got World War II, names. World War II over here. There's Saskatchewan people who were killed in the war. There's also the Korean War down here. And then peacetime operations down here. Afghanistan, etc. And then the First World War is over here. Of course, my wife's grandfather fought in the First World War. He went over as a truck driver, and then joined the Royal Air Force as a navigator. He wanted to be a pilot, but he'd been under fire, so they wouldn't let him do that, but he became a navigator. And in a Handley Page bomber, which were these huge bombers. Typically you lasted 7 or 8 missions in one of those, and then you were shot down, and that's exactly what happened to him. And he finished in a prisoner of war camp. And he wrote his memoirs late in life, and in 2018, just in time for the centennial of the armistice, of course the legislative building itself is over here, I published them. They're called One Lucky Devil, published by my Shadowpaw Press. If you go to shadowpawpress.com, you'll see it there. It's also available through Amazon or any other bookstore you might want to get it through. And you know, it sold a few copies and got some good attention at the time, so I never knew Sam, that's his name, Samson J. Goodfellow. He died before I moved to Regina in the late 70s. But we live with a lot of his stuff because our house has been in the family since 1939. Oh, the fountain's going over here. So I kind of feel like I know him, and then of course through his memoirs I do too, so it was very cool to be able to publish that. And I found, you know, photos to accompany it. It's not a very big book, but it's a handsome little book. And I just lost my YouTube feed, so I'm gonna have to restart. Okay. All right, this is feed 2 on YouTube and Facebook. The first one just failed 2 seconds ago on YouTube, so I restarted. I didn't want to miss showing you this lovely fountain, which was not running the last time I was here by any means. It's got benches around it, you can sit and have your lunch and look at the fountain. Over here with the sun behind it for a different lighting effect. Spare no expense on these walks. But carrying on south, hopefully YouTube stays with me. That's about the 3rd time on one of these walks that YouTube has failed. Maybe the 4th time, but one time it happened and I did not see a message. I just found out later it had stopped. This time I saw the message that it had failed. So this is the second half of that feed, but if you're watching the recording, I will have joined them together to make a single recording. So far, nobody has said hello, so as far as I know, nobody was even watching and noticed that. Unless you're on Facebook. Facebook feed usually stays up. It's always the YouTube one that fails, if one's going to fail. They both were probably buffering because I was getting unstable internet connection warnings back then. Anyway, carrying on to the south. It's the Walter Scott Building here, named after the first premier of Saskatchewan as a province. A man whom I have portrayed, even though he looked nothing like me, and undoubtedly had a Scottish accent. But I didn't try to do one for him. Well, I would imagine he did. He was born in Scotland. But when the Hill Companies celebrated their centennial, I was hired to write and do a little speech in the guise of Walter Scott. I did it as he had gotten hold of H.G. Wells' time machine and had come to the future to see if Saskatchewan had worked out the way he thought it would, and it was fun. And they liked it so much. I did it here in Regina. They liked it so much that they flew me to Calgary and had me do it there, one of the big golf clubs. And what was fun about that was that Ralph Klein, who was premier at the time, was in the audience. And I was able to add to my script some jokes aimed at Alberta. There's a friendly rivalry there. So I got to make fun of Alberta with the premier of Alberta in the audience. And it went over really well there too. I've done a few of those kind of corporate things. Not many, but a few. Maybe 3 that I can think of. That's how few. So I've walked down here before, but I've always gone on past the Lloyd Building here. It's the next government building. To the McKinsey Art Gallery, well, the T.C. Douglas Building after that. Yes, we are a government town. But this time I'm going to go left. Normally if I go that way, I end up coming out about here from the left. This time I'm going to start in that direction over here and see what's what. So if you found this new feed, the second this morning, say hi. If you were watching the first one, I apologize, but I have no control over my cell phone signal. It comes and it goes. Mysterious are the ways of the cell phone signal. Blessed be the cell phone signal. If I go over there, there's a sidewalk I can follow. Looks like, which might be more interesting, so let's do that since I haven't been over there. Over there is to my right. So this is the Lloyd Building. I've been in there when I did some government work. Did a whole lot of work for a report on wetlands and stuff like that for, I guess must have been the Environment Department. I tend just about everything that involves words. People ask me. All I really want to do is write my fiction, but other stuff like that is necessary to pay the bills sometimes. You've ever been on the back side of this building? Not that there's much to see. Let's follow this path. I've never walked on this path before. There are always geese. So all of this collectively is Wascana Center, and it's divided up into various parks and things like that. So Wascana Park and Wascana Center are sometimes used interchangeably, but really Wascana Center is the overarching green space, and there's various parks within it. I don't even know what that building is. So yeah, I've never been on this side of the Lloyd Building before. Over there's the T.C. Douglas Building. We'll come back by it the way I'm trending today. And that's a big green space. Ready for playing football? Yeah, I think this sidewalk is going to run out on me over here and I'll be in the grass. Or have to walk on the road for a bit, or cross and walk on the sidewalk on the other side, I guess, until I can join another sidewalk on this side. Well, let's do that. Does that work? Yeah, there's another sidewalk down there. So we will cross just to stay on the sidewalk. Dip into, I think this is Lakeshore Park here. Take a somewhat roundabout way to get over to where I can join another sidewalk on the other side. Of course, I could have just walked on the road, but is that interesting? No. I'm getting a lot of that internet connection warning. Just a quick coffee with you this morning, says Bonnie. Thank you. I'm great today. I'm great every day. Bicycle coming. Over here, we can rejoin More bathrooms. Now we get this sidewalk. Follow. So over there is the TC Douglas building. There's the Lloyd Building that we just walked behind. Over there, major government building. Mackenzie Art Gallery is in there. Actually, that note said I was quiet today, not great today, so that probably means my Facebook sound is not working. I preferred it the other way. I thought Bonnie was saying I was great today. Well. Oh well. It's a silent walk then on Facebook, apparently. That probably has to do with the state of the cell signal. But it's all being recorded, so most people will watch it as a recording, and they will hear my scintillating conversation. Walk through the parking lot here to get on another sidewalk. That's happened 2 or 3 times. Facebook does not have sound, and again, it's nothing I do. I do everything the same every day. It's the Facebook gods are angry. And the YouTube gods apparently were angry too, since they cut off my feed at one point. But I got it back. Had to sacrifice a chicken, but not really. That was a joke. Maybe that's why nobody's saying anything on Facebook. They can't hear me. Ooh, lilac's starting to come out. If anybody's on YouTube, please say hi and tell me if I have sound. Cherry blossoms. Those all over the place now. Hopefully the rain that's coming doesn't beat them off the trees. And there's my stability warning again. So, is it because, again, I go back to wondering if humidity has something to do with it. In the cold of winter, it was never a problem. And now that's the backside of the Wascana Rehab Center. And since it warmed up, I've had more stability problems. And of course, we had rain last night, which means the humidity is a little higher. And I seem to be having more warnings today, plus the feed failed at one point. So, just a theory. There's always somebody walking a dog. Yeah, there's any number of ways to go through these paths to my right here. I think I'll walk on down. Well, I don't know. Let's go this one. I don't think I've walked down this one before. Yes, somebody else, Roger, confirming that I do not have sound this morning, but again, there is absolutely nothing I can do about it. I wonder if there was sound on the first one, on the first feed. Both those notes came in after I restarted the feed. And it should be fine on YouTube. And it'll be fine on the recording. I don't know, people might prefer it soundless. Walking Commuter, who, as I've often mentioned, is the guy who inspired this. You can find him on YouTube, and he walks through Manhattan and has thousands of viewers, whereas I have tens, only a couple of tens to that. He sometimes does a no talking walk. Apparently that's what I'm doing right now for a Facebook watcher. It just wasn't intentional. Yes, and Roger also notes lots of breaks in the video stream. That's what I've been commenting on. I have no control over that. Maybe my next phone will get a more reliable signal, but I'm some ways away from upgrading. This is an 11 plus. Not planning to go to the 12. I usually skip 2 in the iPhone numbers. So I had an 8, but not a 10. Or did I just have a 7 even? No, I think I had a 6 and an 8. But I didn't have a 10. Was there a 9? Went to the 11. Or the X, I guess they use the Roman numeral for the 10. There's a sign on the tree. No. There's a place for a sign, but no actual sign. It's this bit of artwork I've walked by before. We'll go around that side just so you can see it again. If you've watched this before, and if you haven't, you can see it for the first time. It's the I-beam with the cable wrapped around it. The question in the artwork is it constraining or embracing the I-beam? To which my answer is yes. Anybody on YouTube, please let me know you're there. Since I had to restart the feed, I'm always curious if it stayed up or if it went down again and I didn't get a message. I guess I won't ask if anybody else is on Facebook. They want to say hello because nice breeze. Because I know there's no sound on Facebook. This is the tree farm over here for the city. As I've pointed out many times, all these trees were planted. None of this is natural growth. This is naturally a bare and treeless plain. So we were walking, was down in there. We're trending back towards the buildings and such. So glimpse something that might have been the YouTube feed failing again. Well, if it did, that's the end of the YouTube feed. Nobody was saying hello anyway. And I will walk in silence on Facebook. If that's not what I saw, and YouTube is still up, and you're on YouTube, just say hi or something so I know you're there. I would appreciate that. That's dried right up, or is it just covered in, this is just covered in gunk. Doesn't even look like a pool at the moment. Huh. Here and then just walk straight down the road for a change after all that zigzagging. There you go, one of these sidewalks that, except for that zig in it, goes to the vanishing point almost. I don't know if I'll stay on it or not. It is a little dull, isn't it? I do want to go in front of the Mackenzie Art Gallery because there's some nice cherry trees in front of it. It should look pretty right now. So maybe I'll dip into the kind of rehab parking lot here and go that way, just to avoid this very long straight sidewalk. Looked better when it was snowing. It was more mysterious somehow. With the sun shining, clear blue skies, it's just kind of dull. So we will go, it's not actually a driveway, it's a sidewalk. We'll go to the right here. And then walk down the legs a little closer as we head on. Now turn the corner and are heading home. So there's the sign, Saskatchewan Rehabilitation Center, front entrance, bus arriving. Through here. To the sidewalk again. Another look at the front. No, it's not actually a sidewalk. I have to go through the grass here. Workers everywhere this morning doing this and that. I don't know why this fence is up or what they're doing on this side of the building. That might just be to control access. But I think it has something to do with the work they're doing. There's been some holes dug, looks like, and there's gas lines and things are marked with flags, so they must be doing something. Ah yeah, I see the cherry blossoms up there in front of the TC Douglas building. That's kind of my next goal, is to show those off. idea if anybody can hear me, because I don't know if the YouTube feed stayed up this second time around. Nobody has said hello on YouTube, so quite probably nobody's watching. I have been watching on Facebook, a couple of people. They have no sound, so not one of my most successful live streams. It's not my fault. I cannot conjure a strong self-signal out of thin air, which is where it is, of course. It's in thin air. Well, I'll need to get over to that sidewalk over there, so I'll do that now. It'll take us right under the cherry blossoms. Cherry blossom time. It's almost like being in Victoria, you know, for being nothing at all like being in Victoria. You have lots of cherry trees along here though. This is when they're pretty. Cherry tree, very pretty. Now the rest of that is, but the lemon flower is sweet when you're singing about lemon songs, but for cherry trees, the fruit can also be sweet. I don't know that you get much fruit off of these, if any. I'll stay on this side where the trees are. Pretty. Watch out for that truck, car, whatever that was. And some more. Now I'm going to go over to the right here, which you can appreciate. They have a lovely effect with the trees in the spring and everything for the front entrance. Showed this piece of artwork before over here. Now, head down Albert, but I want to cross as soon as I get a chance. Next intersection. I don't think I want to walk down this side. Because it's another long, straight, endless sidewalk. There's not a crosswalk for quite some ways. I'd rather get run over than pass me on the sidewalk, apparently. There's Mackenzie through the trees. I don't understand people who wear masks walking by themselves outside. If they do anything, and they do very little if you look at the research, they certainly are unnecessary outside by yourself. However, they become like a talisman that you wear to ward off evil spirits in some people's minds, I think. Very modern one over there. Pretty new. Lots of nice houses along Albert Street here. An older modern one right next to it, the low one. This is a pedestrian crosswalk up here. It doesn't have a light, so you have to kind of hope the cars are paying attention. But that's probably where I'll cross. Maybe I'll walk on up to the light. No, I think I'd rather cross here. This way I can show off this one on the corner, which I like. I'm gonna go in a couple of blocks to avoid Albert Street from here. Yeah, it's one of the nice houses along here. That's in my book, Historic Walks of Regina and Moose Jaw. If there's some way to carry it with me and comment on things as I saw them, that would be great, but it would also slow these down. If I stop to read everyone, I'd be out here for hours, even on one of the shorter walks. Won an award, that one, Municipal Heritage Award. The walks in it were not my creation. They're the ones from the Heritage Regina walking tours. I modified them slightly and, you know, researched the various things. Ow! Just got something in my shoe. I think it went away. Or at least it's not stabbing me anymore. You know, to add a little extra information. And took pictures of everything. I added a couple of things. So they were modified versions of Heritage Regina. Heritage Regina seemed pleased with it. They weren't upset that I had used their work as my source material. The ones in Moose Jaw were harder. There wasn't the same level of walking tour, but I managed to create a couple that were interesting. That book was published by Red Deer Press. It's still available. A number of the things that were in it have been torn down. But somewhere I have photos of every single building on the tour. They weren't all in the book. And I always thought I should do a website, but the work involved, for no apparent compensation, has always prevented me. Okay, we'll just walk down Ray Street here. I walked down Angus before coming back, so I just thought I'd come over one more block. As we head north, at this point I imagine I am only talking to the recording. I've had nothing for anybody on YouTube, so I don't think anybody saw it, or else the feed has failed for a second time. And on Facebook I'm soundless, so only you, chosen few, who are watching the recording are hearing my scintillating conversation. I hope I'm scintillating, not stupefying. Or at least mildly amusing. Or of some slight interest. Or, well, you know, just not boring. It's that line from the Fantastics. The girl says, "I'm special. I am special. Please God, don't let me be ordinary." Show I've done twice, but I didn't play the girl. I played El Gallo, one who sings, "Try to remember the kind of September." That was my song. Here's some lilacs coming out. Not on our old gangly lilac bushes. They will come out. They mostly just come out at the very top of those bushes now. We've got one in the back that's as tall as the house, taller. It still puts out some lilacs though, and some of its branches kind of provide some shade. Now what will happen when we build the deck, I don't know. If it will have to be trimmed or what. We did cut down a tree last year that was dead, or all but dead. It had a quite large branch hanging sort of over our heads whenever we were out on the deck. Not really a deck. Patio, I guess. There's another lovely in-blossom tree. And there's always the thought that one of these days it's going to come down, and I don't want to be under it. And we didn't want part of the house under it or anything, so last year we bit the bullet and had it cut down. It's funny, it's been there for years, but as soon as it's down, it's like you can't remember it. Now it seems like the backyard has always looked like that. More cherry blossoms. I don't mind some of the modern houses. Orange would not have been my choice. Talk about sticking out like a sore thumb along here. Although, I suppose if somebody's visiting, it's easy to tell them where you live. The house next to it would have been ultra-modern from about, what, mid-40s? Early 50s? Yeah, the orange was a bold choice, I'll say that. Another modern over here. Modern, not modern. Just continue straight down Ray here. If you're on Google Maps following along, as this is Ray and 21st Avenue. Ray and 21st Avenue. Somebody should shop bingo. I like this one. I like, as I said many times now, I like that kind of half-timbered, semi two-door look. Not two-door like a car, but two-door like the kings and queens of England. How long have I been walking? Seems longer. 37 minutes, so this should come in about an hour. You can see that nice tunnel effect starting to take shape as the trees continue to leaf out, the elms. It's one of the nicest things about these old streets. It's like a bit like living in a forest, even though, as I said, we really live in the middle of a treeless plain, but we have a substantial urban forest, as they say. I don't know what that bird is. I don't know if you can hear it or not. It's another one of the houses with the half-timbered look. Morning. Bigger one. I like that one. I may even have been in it. There's something familiar about it. This is McCallum. So just a couple of, ow, there's that thing in my shoe again. I'll reposition it so it doesn't stab me in the heel, whatever it is. It's only fun until someone gets stabbed in the heel. I also like that kind of classic look of a house. The symmetrical with the shutters and formal porch and all that. Another one I like a lot. Three more blocks, I guess? Or is it just two? To Regina Avenue, I mean, from where I decide which way to go home. Probably I'll go to the footbridge, otherwise I have to cross Albert Street Bridge, which is a little closer, but not as pleasant. A lovely one. House and flower and bush combination. They were saying we might get some snow mixed with rain the next couple of days. They've raised the projected temperature a little bit. So now it looks more likely like rain, but we'll see. I think it'd be cool if I could come out and do one more walk in the snow on like May 21st or something like that. Would be cool. Certainly cooler than yesterday when it went to 30. Although it was only about 20 when I went out in the morning. It was right around 9 when I set out this morning. It's probably a few degrees warmer than that. It's supposed to go to 19 today. Again, if you're of the Fahrenheit persuasion, those are Celsius temperatures, obviously. One of our weird traffic islands, I point out. Been there since the 20s, I would say. Probably 100 years old. I imagine that's about when they were built, when cars became common. They wanted to, I suspect it was to slow down traffic through the residential area. I don't know for sure. Never tried to research the history of those things. They've just always been there. It's a streetscape here on Race Street. That's R-A-E Street, not Race Street. R-A-C-E. Searcy, Arkansas, where I went to school, the main drag was actually called Race Street, as I recall, which would seem appropriate for a college town street with, probably did have people racing on it from time to time. It's a pretty small town though. It was probably about 10,000 people, but 13,000 with the university, which had about 3,000 students when I was there. It's very similar in size to Weyburn, where I grew up here in Saskatchewan. It was about an hour's drive from Little Rock, I think, which is, of course, is Arkansas's big city, big-ish city. So we'd go to Little Rock to see, you know, the latest movies, Excalibur and Superman. Although I saw Star Wars for the first time in Searcy on a theater screen that had a tear in it, which put a black mark in the middle of Princess Leia's chin. It's where I usually noticed it, but that's the first place I saw Star Wars. Then I saw it in Weyburn, I think at Christmas time. I finally got to Weyburn. The dog. Morning. And I think I saw it in England. I'm sure I saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind for the first time while I was in England on a combination missions and choir trip. We were there for 6 weeks, but the first 3 weeks I spent in, or maybe I was in Scotland. First 3 weeks were Wales when I saw it. It feels like it might have been Wales. Anyway, I spent 3 weeks living with a family in Edinburgh and knocking doors and inviting people to meetings at the local Church of Christ, and then our little group, which were from Harding University a cappella chorus, was a double quartet. That's how we, more or less, that's how these things have been set up. And then we would give a little program every night. And we did things like sing in malls and stuff. So we spent 3 weeks in Edinburgh and then a week in Cardiff, Wales. And then 2 weeks with the entire choir touring the British Isles. And I know I saw Star Wars there at some point during that 6 weeks. And I think that's when I saw Close Encounters for the first time. There was an advertisement before Star Wars running over there. What was it called? Appliance Wars or something like that. And it was like flying toasters and clothes irons and things like that, shooting laser beams at each other. I have no idea what they were advertising, but I sure remember the ad. I just don't remember what they were advertising. Nice house, and it's for sale. If you're looking for one on the creek here in Regina. Fairly busy road in front of it. It's kind of like this one. It's an older house, but it was ultra modern for its time. Here's our footbridge again. As we approach home. So let's tally it up. I have no sound on Facebook, at least not on the second feed. The first feed on YouTube failed and I started the second feed. I have no idea if the second feed is working because absolutely nobody has said hello from Facebook this morning. So, not a very successful live stream, but if you're watching the recording, that won't matter to you. Quite breezy there, you're probably hearing that. So I didn't look this way when I came across before, so there's our creek one more time. The sun was shining on it quite brightly in this direction before. Now it's changed in that hour I've been going. I mean, it's still shining on it, but not the way it was when it was a little lower. We'll go down because just because. Sort of a random choice. Oh, and there's the unstable internet warning one more time. Along the creek I've been getting it. This house go up over here every time I walk by it. A couple of more blocks. And I'll be getting back to the tangled stars with the epiphany I had at 6 o'clock this morning as to how I needed to proceed from the little scene I ran into yesterday that I did, but I didn't like it. I couldn't figure out why. Now I know why, and I know what needs to happen, I think. There's still one decision to be made. There's one character. I can either dump him at this point, or rehabilitate him, or some combination of the two. Or not rehabilitate him, but if I don't, he's going to have to be a prisoner for a while until he can rehabilitate himself. So those are the kinds of questions I'm still working on with this book. And yes, there was an outline or a synopsis of like, I don't know, 6 or 7 pages. And I'm following that plot-wise, but the details have bedeviled me as things have come up that I didn't put in the outline but made sense. And yeah, and it's got a completely different tone than I thought it was going to have. I thought it was going to be more of a serious space opera, and in fact it's more of a humorous, but with adventure, space opera. At least I think it's humorous. Guess I'll find out from readers once it gets published next year, assuming I ever finish the darn thing. And the minute it's done, I'm going to write book 4 of my World Shaper series, which I'll be publishing myself. First 3 are published by Dog Books, but I'm moving on to the Tangled Stars within. And unless World Shapers gets picked up by a movie theater, a movie studio or something like that, and there is someone working in that direction, but I am not holding my breath. DAW won't be publishing it anymore. So if I want to continue the series, which I do, I will be publishing it myself. I might try a Kickstarter to help fund it. Just a small one. I'll write it no matter what. But, I mean, or I could try the other, not GoFundMe, but Indiegogo. Because at Indiegogo, you keep whatever money you raise. And since the project is going to go ahead no matter what, that would be one way to ensure I was not completely left in the cold. The trouble is, I don't think it's usually as successful over there, so we'll see. I may not do either just because of the work involved. But I was thinking maybe, you know, $2,500 or something like that is my goal. Whew. One more block. If you have been on YouTube and have watched and it's been up and running, this is kind of your last chance to say something before I hang it up here. If you're on Facebook, you can't hear me. And if you're watching the recording, well, you can leave a comment on YouTube, but I won't see it until much, much later than this. But how long have I gone? Yeah, oh, under an hour. It sure felt like that should be over an hour, but oh well. Oh wait, this is feed 2. That's why it seems so short. Duh. Feed 1 was probably 20 minutes, so yeah, I'm well over an hour. It was a somewhat longer walk. I thought it had to be. Yeah, but that first one must have failed 15 minutes in, so I'm probably more like an hour 10 total. But I'll find out when I splice it all together. Okie dokie, that's it. I'll shut up now. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow.